Commander Elena Voss stood at the bridge of the SS Horizon, her eyes fixed on the strange shape drifting silently in the blackness just beyond their orbit. The warship was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. It wasn't just metal and lights. It seemed alive. Its hull shimmered with an eerie glow, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat, casting ripples of color across the void. The sensors showed no signs of weapon activity, no heat signatures from engines, nothing that fit the known patterns of warships, yet the tension in the air was thick and suffocating. The crew whispered among themselves, uneasy as the massive vessel hovered, unresponsive to repeated calls. Every attempt at communication ended in silence or static, as if the ship existed in its own world, ignoring all attempts to reach it. Elena felt the weight of command settle on her shoulders heavier than ever before. Was this an enemy, a trap, or something else entirely? The strange pulses from the ship were irregular but steady, almost like a signal or a warning. She ordered the horizon to keep distance, but every passing moment only increased the dread that this living weapon was waiting, watching, learning. The crew's eyes darted nervously to their screens where the ship's surface shifted subtly, changing shape like it was breathing beneath the metal. The sensors began picking up strange readings, waves of energy that defied explanation, bending, light and sound in unnatural ways. Some speculated it was a form of alien technology far beyond human understanding. Others whispered it was something sentient, something that could think and feel. Elena's gut told her to prepare for the worst, but also to hold back, to watch carefully before striking. She sent out a drone to scan closer, but as it neared, the warship responded, not with fire, but by morphing its structure, closing in on the drone like a living predator. The drone lost contact, disappearing into the shifting hull, and a silence fell over the bridge that made every breath feel loud. The tension grew unbearable as the crew waited, frozen in a moment that stretched longer than any battle they had fought. Then suddenly a faint pulse emitted from the warship, sending a ripple through space, an invitation or a threat no one could tell. Elena's mind raced with possibilities. Could this ship be a relic of an ancient race? A biological weapon? Or worse, a creature that used warships as shells? The unknown loomed large, and as the Horizon's engines hummed quietly, ready for any command, Elena knew that the coming hours would decide humanity's fate. The enemy warship wasn't just a weapon, it was alive, and it was waiting for them to make the next move. The Horizon drifted in the shadow of the living warship, a cold silence hanging heavy across the bridge as Commander Elena Voss and her crew stared at the strange shifting vessel before them. The warship's surface pulsed with subtle rhythms, the eerie glow waxing and waning, as if it was breathing in slow, deliberate cycles. For days, the Horizon's scientists and engineers pored over the data from their probes and sensors, trying to understand the alien ship's nature. Their initial belief that it was simply a machine made to destroy faded quickly when patterns emerged that resembled neural activity, patterns no conventional warship could produce. The hull wasn't static metal, but a complex mesh of organic fibers and alloy, a fusion of flesh and technology that defied everything human science thought possible. As the ship twisted and morphed in response to their attempts to study it, it became clear it was not just controlled by an artificial intelligence but possessed a living mind, a consciousness that could feel, learn, and adapt. Elena watched, her crew's reactions. Some were fascinated, others fearful, but all knew this discovery changed everything. To face a foe that could think and change in real time meant no battle would ever be the same. The Horizon's lead scientist, Dr. Malik, proposed an unprecedented plan to attempt a direct interface between their AI and the warship's neural network, hoping to establish some form of communication before conflict became inevitable. The risk was immense, connecting their systems to an unknown intelligence that could potentially override or destroy their own. But the alternative was to wait for an attack they could neither predict nor understand. Late into the ship's artificial night cycle, the Horizon deployed a specialized drone equipped with a new type of quantum transmitter, designed to link with the alien vessel's network. The bridge crew held their breath as the drone approached, The warship surfaced, sending out waves of carefully coded signals intended to provoke a response. Slowly, the warship's surface began to ripple and shift again, but this time the patterns matched the quantum pulses from the drone, as if the living ship was decoding the message and answering back. A strange sense of relief, mixed with apprehension, filled the room. The interface was working. Through the drone, the Horizon's AI began to receive fragments of information, images and sensations unlike anything human minds had encountered. Memories of distant worlds, organic cities growing beneath crystal skies, and desperate attempts to survive a plague that had turned their people into hybrids of flesh and machine. The warship itself was a survivor, a last remnant of a civilization, consumed by its own fight for life. It was not just a weapon, but a living archive of a lost race's pain and hope. Elena's heart pounded as she realized the gravity of what they faced. An enemy driven by survival, not conquest. But survival at the cost of other lives was still a threat to humanity. The warship, sensing their hesitation, began to shift again, forming tendrils and armored plates that glowed with a fierce intensity. A clear message that it could fight if needed. The Horizon readied its defenses, but Elena knew brute force alone wouldn't win this battle. Instead, she ordered her team to continue probing the warship's consciousness, searching for any sign of reason or mercy within the alien mind. The ship's responses grew more complex, patterns that resembled questions and statements flickering across the interface. For the first time, Elena felt the possibility of dialogue, a chance to turn an enemy into an uneasy ally. But trust was fragile, and every moment brought the threat that the living warship could decide humanity was just another obstacle to be eliminated. The crew worked tirelessly, decoding signals and sending back messages of peace and curiosity, hoping to break through the silence that had shrouded the enemy for so long. Yet beneath their cautious optimism, the warship continued to adapt, strengthening its defenses and changing shape as if preparing for war, reminding Elena that whatever this living weapon was, it was still a deadly force to be reckoned with. The battle for understanding was only just beginning, and in the cold void of space, the Horizon and its crew stood on the edge of a new kind of war. One fought not just with weapons but with minds, wills, and the fragile hope that two very different forms of life might find a way to coexist. The Horizon had been locked in a tense and silent dance with the living warship for weeks, each side studying the other, searching for clues hidden in the strange signals that pulsed like faint heartbeats through space. Commander Elena Voss stood on the bridge, staring at the shifting patterns on the main screen. Patterns that had started to take on meaning as the Horizon's AI worked tirelessly to decode the alien signals. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. Fragments of images and sounds that seemed to rise from the depths of the warship's neural network, revealing echoes of memories long buried beneath layers of metal and organic tissue. The crew watched as ghostly visions flickered on the screen. Vast cities of shimmering towers made of living crystal, creatures with shapes unlike anything humans had imagined, and finally, a moment of despair, a planet consumed by a dark plague that twisted life itself. Dr. Malik explained that these were memories of the ship's creators, a once great civilization forced to merge their bodies with machines in a desperate effort to survive a devastating disease. The living warship was more than a weapon. It was the last guardian of a species on the brink of extinction, carrying their hopes, fears, and pain encoded deep within its being. Elena felt a strange mix of sympathy and dread. Sympathy for the lost race whose story unfolded before them, and dread for what this meant for humanity's future. The warship's consciousness, though alien, showed signs of emotion and reason, but it also revealed a fierce will to protect itself at all costs. The Horizon's AI attempted to communicate back, sending images of Earth and humanity's own struggles, hoping to bridge the vast gap between species. Slowly, the warship responded with patterns that resembled questions, curious and cautious as if seeking to understand the strangers who had dared to enter its space. The tension on the Horizon eased slightly, replaced by a cautious hope that perhaps this enemy was not a mindless destroyer but a being capable of empathy and negotiation. Yet beneath this fragile connection, Elena sensed a warning. The warship's signals occasionally flickered with bursts of intense energy, like flashes of anger or fear, reminding the crew that this living weapon was still a force to be feared. The warship sent a signal unlike any before, an invitation to come closer, to meet not with weapons but with words. Elena made the difficult decision to accept, ordering the Horizon to approach slowly and carefully. As the two ships drew nearer, the warship's surface rippled and shifted to form a strange, organic doorway, a passage between two worlds. The bridge crew held their breath as Elena prepared to send a small team through the portal, stepping into the unknown to face a foe that might become a friend, or the deadliest enemy humanity had ever known. The team's journey inside revealed a living world of organic halls and shifting metal, a place that felt alive in every sense. Strange bioluminescent plants pulsed with light, and the walls seemed to breathe. The team encountered remnants of the warship's creators, memories encoded in crystal structures, holograms replaying moments of hope and tragedy. The living warship was a vessel of memory, a guardian of a lost legacy that demanded respect and understanding. As the humans ventured deeper, they found evidence that the warship's mind was not only aware of its past, but also watching the galaxy, warning of threats beyond what humanity knew. Elena realized this was not just a battle between two forces, but a turning point for the entire universe. A chance to join forces against dangers that neither species could face alone. The story of the living warship and its creators became a lesson in survival, adaptation, and the power of empathy. But trust was fragile, and every discovery brought new questions. Could humanity accept this alien consciousness as a partner? Would the warship ever truly stop seeing humans as threats? And most urgently, what dangers lay beyond, waiting for them both in the dark reaches of space? The echoes of understanding between the Horizon and the living warship were the first steps toward a new future, one filled with uncertainty, hope, and the promise that even enemies might become allies when faced with the greater unknown. Career. Fragile alliance between the Horizon and the living warship had only just begun to take shape when the calm shattered like glass under an incoming storm. Deep in the dark space beyond their system, sensors suddenly flared with warning signals as a vast fleet appeared on the horizon. Ships unlike anything humanity had seen before, massive and brutal in design, their weapon systems glowing with deadly intent, clearly heading straight for them. The living warship's surface rippled violently, as if it sensed the threat even before the sensors confirmed it, and its pulses grew faster and sharper, sending urgent signals that the Horizon's AI struggled to decode, revealing fragments of warnings about an ancient enemy, a force so destructive it had driven the warship's creators to desperate fusion with machines just to survive. Elena's heart raced as she realized the gravity of the situation. This new enemy did not just threaten humanity, but the living warship itself, the last remnant of an entire species, and if they fell, all hope would be lost. She immediately ordered the Horizon to raise shields and prepare for battle, but she also knew that brute strength alone would not be enough against such overwhelming odds, and the only chance was to combine humanity's resourcefulness with the warship's unique living abilities. The two forces had to work together or be destroyed separately. As the enemy fleet drew nearer, the living warship shifted and morphed, forming new defenses, organic armor plates that shone with an inner light, energy tendrils that crackled and reached out like living lightning, and strange biotech weapons that fired with precision and devastating power. The Horizon synced its weapons systems with the warship's neural interface, allowing Elena to coordinate attacks that blended technology with biology in ways never before seen. The battle erupted in a storm of light and noise, the void filled with blasts and energy waves as the combined forces fought desperately to hold the line. The enemy was relentless, sending wave after wave of ships, each more heavily armed and faster than the last. But the living warship's ability to adapt was astounding. It reshaped itself on the fly, learning from every strike and turning the enemy's attacks against them. The crew of the Horizon watched in awe and fear as their strange ally became a living fortress, its hull twisting and reforming like a creature defending its young. Yet, even in victory, the cost was clear. Shields were down, weapons were damaged, and the Horizon's crew had lost friends in the fight. Elena's voice remained steady, though her eyes betrayed the weight of command as she called for continued vigilance, knowing this battle was but a prelude to the war ahead. In the midst of the chaos, a message came through the warships. Neural link, a simple, powerful warning of a darkness spreading through the galaxy, consuming everything in its path, a force older and more terrible than any they had faced. The living warship was not just defending itself but guarding a secret vital to the survival of all life. Elena understood then that humanity's place in the universe had changed forever, that the warship was more than an enemy turned ally. It was a sentinel standing between them and oblivion. As the last enemy ships retreated, battered and broken, the Horizon and the living warship drifted together in the silent aftermath, a new bond forged in fire and blood, ready to face the unknown, dangers looming in the darkness beyond, united by the shared will to survive and protect what little hope remained. The battle had ended, but the silence that followed was heavy and full of unspoken questions as the SS Horizon and the living warship floated side by side in the vast emptiness of space, both ships battered yet unbroken, their alliance a fragile thread woven from the fires of conflict and the desperate need for survival. Commander Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Horizon, staring out at the strange organic vessel that now orbited with them like a guardian, a living monument to a lost civilization and a symbol of hope for the future. Though the enemy fleet had retreated, their warning echoed through every system they had touched, the darkness spreading beyond, a shadow threatening to engulf everything, reminding humanity that peace was temporary and vigilance eternal. The living warship, once a silent and unknowable adversary, had become a partner, its strange consciousness slowly revealing more of its past and its fears through the delicate link forged between its mind and the Horizon's AI. A connection that grew stronger with every shared thought and every cautious message. Elena felt a strange comfort in this bond, knowing that the warship's vast experience and unique biology offered humanity a chance to learn, to grow, and perhaps to survive where others had failed. Yet, there was also a profound sadness that hung over the crew. The warship carried memories of its creators, a species lost to time and plague, and a legacy written in pain and sacrifice that reminded everyone of the fragile thread on which life balanced. As the days passed, the alliance deepened, with scientists and engineers from the Horizon working alongside the warship's living systems, discovering new ways to blend human technology with alien biology, unlocking powers that could heal, protect, and fight with a synergy never imagined before. Elena led diplomatic efforts to unite scattered human colonies and allied species, sharing the story of the living warship and the looming threat that forced former enemies to become allies. Her speeches filled with hope and determination, inspiring a new spirit of unity across the stars. But the calm was deceptive. Deep space still held shadows and the enemy's retreat was only temporary, for scouts reported that the darkness beyond was gathering strength, preparing to strike again with even greater force, driven by a hunger that threatened all life. In quiet moments, Elena pondered the price they had paid and the sacrifices yet to come, knowing that the warship's living mind and humanity's indomitable spirit were their best weapons in a universe that was growing, colder and more dangerous by the day. The crew of the Horizon and the living warship trained together, their skills and tactics blending old traditions with new biotechnological marvels, preparing for the battles ahead where survival depended not just on firepower, but on understanding and adaptation. As new ships arrived to join their cause, the sight of the living warship inspired awe and hope, its breathing hull a reminder that even in the darkest moments, life found a way to endure. Finally, standing on the bridge one starry night, Elena looked out at the stars with a steady gaze, feeling the pulse of the living warship beside her, a pulse that was no longer a warning, but a heartbeat of a new dawn, where humanity and the alien merged to face the vast unknown together, ready to fight for a future that was still unwritten but full of promise. The war was far from over, but with this alliance forged in the fires of war and tempered by understanding, Elena believed that humanity's story was just beginning, a story of survival, unity, and hope that would echo through the ages as a testament to the strength of life itself.